In this video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use the new Regal alphabet from the John Next Door collection, and I'm going to show you 3 different techniques of how we can use the letters within this. I will be doing a separate video using the numbers as well, but this video, rather than focusing on making specific cards, will show you the techniques. So the alphabet actually comes like this. I'm going to move the numbers away. So you get all of the letters from A through to Z. You also get 2 stars, a solid and a star with a hole in the middle, and a heart. And you also get the outside edge. And the outside edge will allow you to cut a grid, use it for separate projects, but also allow you to cut all of the letters as once. So the first technique we're going to do is how to create letters like this. Now this is my box that I've made up and that I keep. And this has in it all of the letters. So if I pick up an A, you can see here what I've got is I've got the A outside like a Scrabble tile on a white background. So I'm going to show you how we achieve that to start with. So one of the best ways to do this and make a lot up is to take your die set, and what I've done here is tape it down to a piece of card. So this has just been very carefully taped down to a piece of card, so all the letters are in place, plus the Z and the extra pieces. I'm just going to take that little bit of waste out there, because you can see they're taped down. And what this means is that we can get the whole alphabet, if we want to, in one go. So to do this, I'm going to bring in a piece of black card, and I'm using Crafts 2 black linen card at 250 GSM. And I'm just going to pop that over the top. I'm using my A4 machine. Now I'm asking a lot of this, so I'm going to pop it into my machine. I want a lot of areas cut, so I'm going to add a metal shim, pop my top plate on, and simply run that through my die cutting machine. And this alphabet will fit through your A5 machines, but for speed, when I'm cutting a lot, I actually run it all through on an A4 to get it started. And what I've also got here is I've got a piece of cream card, and I've got a little piece of red card as well, because I want to show you how we cut the backers. So this is now cut through. I'm going to take off the board, and can you see, hopefully everything's been cut, so you can just release that out. Now if you find that the tape is a little bit sticky in places, use your anti-static bag and just add that over the top, and what that will do, just go like that, it will actually take off some of the stick. So you can see here, I can just simply pop the letters out. I get left this grid work, which I can use for another project. Have a look in the galleries section of the Crafting with John Next Door and Crafts 2 group, and you'll see lots and lots of ideas of using the grid. And we can just simply pop each letter out. So I'm just going to go through and pop these out. I'm not going to do all of them, as it is a little bit boring to watch. So simply then, I've got each letter cut. So here I pick up an F, take the waste out, and I have the letter there, which I could obviously put straight onto my card, just like that. But if I want to put a back colour onto it, and what I'm going to do on this occasion is I'm going to use this sort of champagne colour, is simply to use the grid. So I can use just the grid on its own without any of the letters inserted. Again, I'm going to shim that, and I'm going to run that one through, and that will give me a backer for each of the letters. So you can see here, I'll take these out. So I've got a K, and we'll go for a simple Q, G, each one of these, and we get very little waste of card with this, which I absolutely love. So we'll go for those 4 letters to start with. Here I now have my squares, so I would just pop these out. And what you can do is, if you're making lots of squares, is keep the spares. Again, in my box, which I'll just bring in, you can see here, I keep spare squares in case I want to use specific colours. And then you can simply use either glue glaze or a spray glue. And I'm just going to turn these to the reverse, add some spray glue onto them, and then take the letter and a square, pop them together, and just make sure that they're the right size. So again, I'll do another one or another couple. There we go. Very, very simple. And that's how I would make the tiles. And if I wanted to do, say, a different colour, or I wanted to add a little bit of extra colour, perhaps I wanted to highlight some of the letters, I can just take any scrap of card, it doesn't matter. We can pop that onto our base and cut that, and that would give me the squares in red. So you don't have to do an entire piece to get all of the letters. You simply put them together like that, and there we've got the simple letters. So that is our first technique using the letters, and we'll pop them away to one side, and we'll move to our second technique. So for our second technique, we're going to cut these just into the card. And what I've got here is just a piece of white Crafts 2 linen card, and I've simply cut this down to 4.5 inches by 7, but you can use any width you want to at all. And I'm going to put a set word against it. I'm going to go with smile. So I take my S, my M, my I, my L, and my E. I would really recommend keeping them in alphabetical order. It makes it a lot easier when you're finding them on a magnetic sheet. So here we have, I'm going to put them down as they're going to cut, and I'm going to use the lines on my board, and you'll see each one is actually a 2 centimetre square, which makes it very easy to work. It actually works as 2 centimetres or 3/4 of an inch. So if you're metric or imperial, it will work. So I'm simply going to lay these down on my board. And now I've got my word smile. And if you can read it this way round, then it will cut correctly. I'm then going to take a long piece of tape and pick that up, tape along the back. So now I have my word. I'm then going to take my card. I'm going to pop this again on my board against the straight lines. And that means that I can take this and I can cut it by marking the tape against the 2 lines there. So I know that's completely straight against the card. So just make sure it's well pressed in. You can do this onto the board, which is what I'm going to do. And then I'm simply going to run this through my die cutting machine. Again, this will fit through your standard A5 machine. And what I've actually done here is there's lots of different options of what you can do behind this. So you could put acetate behind and make it a shaker card. You could put different colours. You could put a solid colour. It's really, really simple. So we're going to just take this off our board. Carefully peel away the letters, watching the tape. And you'll see there I have smile, S-M-I-L-E. So I have the smile running across. Just take my glue eraser, take the little marks from the machine off. And again, I could simply mount that over a single colour. I could foam mount it above it. And one thing we can do is to use different colours, and this is where the sizing comes in. So I've added a little bit of spray glue to the back, and I've cut some sort of pastel-y ice cream colours. And these have been cut to 3/4 of an inch. And all I need to do is to take these, and I cut them a little bit longer. I wouldn't do squares, I would do longer. So let's go S, M. And all I'm doing is putting the colour behind each letter. Here's the I. And you'll see that 3/4 of an inch is just right to fill that gap. And we'll finish with a little bit more of this tangerine colour or apricot. L, smile. And there we have smile shining brightly on it. So again, so I could just simply mount that perhaps onto another piece of card, onto a card blank, and we're done. We could decorate with flowers or anything else, but then you have smile in there. So our first technique was cutting the letters out as tiles. You could actually put the numbers on there. Smile, you could write smile, it's your birthday, and the numbers. So they look very different in the two different ways. The third way we're going to do this is using the separate outside line pieces that come alongside the set. So you actually get 4 of these inside your alphabet, making it very, very easy. So we'll probably go with smile again. So here I've got another piece of card I've cut down. This is just linen card with a craft texture. And this time I'm going to take the squares. So I need to use 5 of those. This is where having the numbers as well comes in handy. Again, you can line it up and just roughly line up each piece evenly using the lines on your board. So I've got those all lined up to run down, just like that. Again, take a long piece of tape, tape those to your card, and we're going to run those through the machine. So you could run these across, diagonal, whichever way you want. You could build up word games and all sorts. And we're going to use the smile again. So I'm just going to clean these letters out. I love that. It's a really nice 5-letter word, and it really works well for cards that you want to send someone a card but you don't want to say too much. So here we go. Here's our smile, so just be careful. And you see you get this beautiful stitched edge all the way around the outside, which adds a lovely level of detail. I've now got a piece of card I've cut 1/8 of an inch bigger. So the measurements on this one are, the bottom is 4 inches by 7 inches. So the red panel is 4 1/8 by 7 1/8. And I'm going to do this on the board of my machine because it makes it easier. I'm simply going to get that in exactly the right position, and I'm going to tape it to the board top and bottom so they don't move. I then simply take the letters. So again, if it's readable to you when you're cutting it, it means it will come out right. It's the best way to remember it. So there's our S. And all I'm doing is placing these so that they are on the inside evenly of those squares. So there is our I. And if you go off a little bit, people don't notice. This is handmade that we're doing. But again, it's something that's not really possible for manufacturers to make in cards you buy from the shop. So it's something that we've got that's different as crafters. And then E. So my square's off a little bit. When it's done, you don't notice it. So I've typed S-M-I-L-E. I've placed those in there. Again, I'm going to run that through my machine. That's just running through. While that's going, I'll grab a little bit of foam tape. We'll move the alphabet out of the way. And what we'll get then, when this comes out, is I'm going to release that off. There we go. So I'm simply going to take the tape off, being careful. So you don't want to tear it at this point, and simply pop out each letter. And what I would do at this point is always try and remember to pop them back onto your board in the right place. It just makes it so much easier when you come to use the alphabet again. And it helps if, like me, you're not best with letters. It teaches you the alphabet again, which for some of us has been a while. So E, F, G, H, C, I. It's J, K, L. And then the M. And finally the S. There we go. So we'll pop that back away. And we'll pop our tape for later use. And now what I've done is, I've got a little card blank here cut, and I put a layer of black on it. And this has been cut to 4 1/4 by 7 1/4. So again, I get that border. Make sure everything is pricked out. And again, a little bit of foam tape. And I'm going to start by putting the red layer down. So foam tape on both sides of the letters, so they're nice and supported. And then so that that doesn't flap, a piece on that end as well. And we can always put a little support in top and bottom. And simply going to take that off. We need to make sure this goes in the right place. So we use a little bit of wet glue. I'm using the Craft Artist glue because it's genuinely the best I've ever used. So high in acrylic. A couple of little blobs. You don't need to cover it everywhere. It's just to break the static and give us some wriggle room. And we put that on and give it a really nice. So we could leave it at that, or again, we can take our next layer that we cut, and again, using foam tape, do exactly the same again. Support both sides of the apertures. Support the top, and again, I would add a little bit more foam tape in, but as this is just for the tutorial, you can see here a little bit of glue. And all we do again is just make sure that that's framing that. We've got the right level everywhere. There we go. And there we've got Smile, showing really simply, but this time it's very different. We have then the one we did where we just cut it into the card. And to finish it off, using the letters we made earlier. So what I'm going to do here is just simply use ones from my tray. So we can have S, M, I. So S, M, I, where we just need an L. Terrible with my memory of where the alphabet is. And E. So that's the 3 different basic ways we can use the Regal alphabet to give us sort of Scrabble tiles, to give us a beautiful floating letters, or to give us framed letters. For more hints, tips and inspiration, why not have a look at the Crafting with John Next Door and Crafts 2 group on Facebook, which is full of galleries of cards using all these dies and many, many more.